Okay, so we're talking about stress, mental health, work, and how we can stay productive, how we can manage stress in this time. So here with me is Ruqayyah Abdul-Rahim. So I'd like us to get to meet you, Ruqayyah. So tell us a bit about you. Who are you and what you do?
I started out as a massage therapist 9 years ago. And, really it's been a progression. My career has been a progression. So I went back to school for neuromuscular therapy, which is just medical massage and learning more so about how to reduce trigger points or just that your muscles have pain patterns because stress physically manifests in the body. And so I just noticed very quickly, like when I was working with clients and I would do mobile massage, and as soon as I come in their house, they're like, "Oh, I'm stressed out about work or their finances or their relationships or their children is stressing them out or just all these different areas of their life." And so, being on my table 2 hours a week, they were definitely getting results. We were getting results with the massage, but then they would go back to their stressful life. So I really started thinking like, how can I help them reduce stress in every area of their life? So of course, continue to enjoy the massages, but also, so that their body isn't so stressed, so that their life isn't so stressful. And so that's when I looked at eliminating the causes of their stress and not just, at some point really the massage felt like a Band-Aid because they're still going back to their stressful life.
So what are the major causes of stress? So like you say, whatever is happening to our mind at the end of the day affects our body.
Yeah, stress affects people in different ways. It does, it manifests in our muscles and our tension in our body, as well as, like you said, like you've experienced a lot of the commonalities that it has that people have when they experience stress. So they can't eat, they can't sleep. It's affecting their productivity. They can't focus. A lack of focus is really a huge one. And sometimes, people, they realize that they can't focus, but they don't necessarily relate it to like, oh, that's because I'm stressed. They don't get that connection. That's really what it is. And so just so many different, so many different causes or, the symptoms and the way that stress shows up in our lives. And stress is not, there's good stress and then there's bad stress. So stress, when it really debilitates how you function in your life, that's the bad stress. That's the stress that's too much. You definitely want to eliminate that. But a little bit of stress, a little bit of pressure, a little bit of so can be definitely healthy and push us to be able to be more productive and do things. But it's just that negative stress that we want to eliminate.
So let's talk about negative stress. How does negative stress come about, in our lives?
So a lot of people are stressed from overwhelm. They have just too much going on and they don't know how to handle it. That's very common. A lot of pressure at work or in other situations. People are stressed, just their relationships or money. When I'm working with my clients, I work in all these different areas and people are like, oh, well, we're going to talk about money. Yeah, we're going to talk about money. I'm not breaking down a budget. I could, but I'm not going to sit down and break down a budget with you. It's really like, what is your money mindset?
I think a lot of stress also comes from mental, right? It comes from the mind. Mm-hmm. So how do we regulate our minds, especially with everything that's happening? People are stressed out. Mm-hmm. People are having they're panicking, anxiety, worry, fear, all these feelings wrapped in one. People are crying, people are angry, people are sad, people are scared. How do we work through, all these feelings that affect our mind that in turn, stress our body? How do we walk through that, those emotional phases?
We're humans and we have feelings, and it's okay to have feelings. It's totally normal, right? We're humans and we have feelings. And so, it's okay to really take a moment and sit in those feelings and acknowledge them. A lot of people try to ignore it. And when you ignore that, it brings on more stress and it really balloons into this huge thing. And so acknowledging your feelings and then working through them. And not letting it just like linger. That's a huge thing. People just really let it linger. And your mental health is super important. The other thing is really guiding um, or limiting or really being conscious of what you expose yourself to.
Are there any activities we can do to sort of check in with ourselves to make sure that we're not pushing ourselves, towards that negative stress line?
Yeah, I mean, even just something as simple as taking your cell phone and putting reminders every 2 hours. So it's just constantly reminding yourself to check in, and eventually to become a habit. But if that's something that you're not used to, then you just need that reminder, that little alarm that goes off on your phone that just says check in, and you're just checking in with yourself. If you need more than 30 seconds or a minute, and you have the time, then you can definitely take that. But it really is just about reminding yourself to check in with yourself.
So let's, talk about common symptoms like not eating well, not sleeping well. How do we handle these stressors? Because these are symptoms of being stressed out.
Yeah. So things that you can do is, I keep mentioning that little alarm, but if you're not eating right, that little on your phone, it was like, have I eaten? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That check-in is, probably really one of the first things that I really try to have clients do, because they're not checking in. They're not taking care of themselves. A lot of times I tell people to write down what they want their life to be like, or calendar out their life, taking command of your life so that, you own it and you really have the ability to build your life the way that you want. That is super, like, just having that ownership. Nobody can make you do anything, right? And we do things because we have to work. But if the work isn't, what you love to do, or if it isn't, maybe you're really good at it, or maybe just your schedule, you just may be able to tweak little things in your life to be able to build to what you want. And so that's really where it's at. That's really where it's at, is building the life that you want. And it's just little things, calendaring your life, doing the check-ins, making, like, if you're not eating during the day because you're always working, maybe you need to pack your lunch, right? Maybe you need to pack healthy choices. Maybe you need to, look up those choices to see what those choices are. Maybe you need to snack 6 times a day instead of like, oh, I don't have time to sit down and have actual lunch, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
Little things that that you can do, and lifestyle changes that you can make in order to eliminate that stress. Like get a massage, or just a little things like that.
For people who when they're stressed, they don't break down. They just continue working.
Mm-hmm.
And they're getting to the point of burnout. I've been burnt out before. I know what it's like to be burnt out, and to you get to a point where you can't even control your body because you feel you're alive, but you feel lifeless. Like you're totally the highest state of fatigue ever, the highest state of being tired. Like that's not even tired; it's worse than tired.
Yeah.
How do we avoid getting to that point where, there's so many things going on. We have work, we have family, we have all these things going on, and we're just pushing. We just keep working till we get to that burnout. How do we avoid getting to that burnout phase?
Getting to the point where you're avoiding the burnout, before you get to total burnout, is really about deciding what the priorities are in your life. So, if family is super important, or, work on certain projects is super important. So it's just always reevaluating what your priorities are and focusing on the priorities. And then the other huge thing about it too is decreasing the negativity in your life, whether that is news or negative people that right, that call it. But of course, we don't want to get to that point. We want to avoid it beforehand. And like these small lifestyle changes, it may not seem like you're like, oh, that's just a small little change, but it will help you in the future, right? It will help you little by little to be able to, design your life the way that you want. And if you're in burnout, the best thing that you can do is take a day, no matter what it is. Like, I would just take a day from everybody, family, work, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Take a day and rest. That's super important. Take a day to rest. Make sure you're eating correctly and really just kind of reset, and then start to, create a plan of how you're going to, get out of that burnout.
How do we ensure that we stay productive as professionals, who we have a job or we have a business and we have to show up there, and with everything happening, and, like you said, it's not something that happens in a day. Like, it doesn't just go away. It takes, all these things we've talked about step by step. How do we stay productive, at work, even with everything that we're going through?
In a professional environment, one thing that you want to look at is your productivity. And so if there are things on your plate that you can delegate them, then delegate them. Even if it takes a little bit more time to train the person how to do it, that's going to help you so that you have less on your plate, especially as managers and CEOs and C-suite executives. We have a lot on our plate, and we're, in charge of doing that higher level thinking, or, carrying the heavier load. And so if you can delegate, then try to delegate. And so the other thing that we need to do is prioritize and, focus on the, what do we call it? The income generating task. So maybe sending emails or some of the other things that we have to do may not be, it's not going to be as high of a priority as that income generating task. Because obviously, as a business, we need income coming in. So
Right.
that's super important. Not saying ignore customer service. Obviously, that stuff is super important as well. But you may be able to delegate that and hire a virtual assistant or someone to take care of that for you, or just, section off that time so that you can do it. Productivity.
If you're not a CEO, what if you're just, regular worker?
No, but delegating, if you can, right, is super important because, as well as prioritizing what in your job description, right, the things that are super important. So, I talked about being an entrepreneur, but even if you're just a professional and you're working, then you have things on your plate that are super important. What you're responsible for is what you're responsible for. So that has to take top priority.
And it's also okay to ask for help too.
Yeah.
If you're overwhelmed and you have a lot going on,
Right.
ask for help too at work, and ask if some things be reassigned to someone else at that point in time, and not taking on more work or drowning in the mountain of work you have to do.
And then take on more. So delegating or asking science to be reassigned, or training a new person, or someone else to do the job, or just what you can to help you kind of just regulate that as well.
So I know you typically talk about some stress tests. What are some stress tests that you can just share a few? I know you have a lot of them that we could use to check in with ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, checking in really is the easiest thing.
So, like, what kind of questions should we ask ourselves to help us check in regards to, like, am I stressed right now?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a great one. Am I stressed right now? That's a good one. How are you feeling? Are you being productive? Are you getting enough sleep? When you wake up in the morning, do you feel rested? Right. Are you eating enough? How do you feel after you eat? Do you feel drained? Do you feel whatever? Or do you need, more food that's more energizing? Or, or do you need to select a better diet or a better meal plan? I don't like the word diet, like meal plans better. But, or do you need to make better choices in what you eat? And so it really is asking those questions. What are you eating? And then how is it affecting your body?
Any final thoughts or anything else you want to share with us before we round up our chat?
Closing thoughts would be, to check in check in with yourself. I've said it over and over again, as well as, even if that's just sending the reminder on your phone every 2 hours, it goes off and you just check in. You just check in with yourself, so that you know where you're at, and be real and authentic with yourself. It's not about anyone else and their expectations of you, but really your expectations of yourself and what you really want for your life, because we're the author of our lives. Of course, God created us and all of that. God has a plan for us, but we don't know what that plan is. So what we do in our life, it really is just about, we have the responsibility to ourselves to be able to tell ourselves that we are here to take care of others. We can't take care of others if we're not here.
Exactly.
It is the number one killer in the U.S. And so I'm just definitely on a mission to help people eliminate really the causes of their stress, so that they can live healthier, happier lives, doing the things that they love most.